And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Thursday. Hope you're having a great week. Got some weather moving across here. I think it actually was coming from the Midwest there a little bit to start with, which we've got one of the top collegiate golfers here joining us. I have to ask him what the weather's like there out there in Oklahoma. But in Florida right now, it's coming across. Pretty good lightning storm happening right now. It's almost supposed to be 72 degrees tomorrow. How's that sound? 72 degrees. Some of you in the Midwest and the North still feeling a little winter, but golf season is around the corner. And this is going to be a fun one here today on the podcast because, I like to talk instruction on Thursday. Usually it's just with another coach, but this week we're going to go with one of the top coaches up in the Northeast area, director of instruction at Manhattan Woods, Golf Digest Best Young Teachers, Jason Birnbaum, and one of his top students who's coming to us from Norman, Oklahoma, and currently ranked third in the country right now, Chris Gotterup. How you guys doing?
Good, Travis. Thanks for having us on.
Chris, thanks for joining me, man. Thanks. This is like, Wednesday night in Norman. I'm sure hey, let's get this over with so I can go have a chilly one and, watch a little bit of the match play or something. Appreciate your time. What's happening in Oklahoma right now?
Nothing much. Just, I don't have much class going on right now, so I got all the time in the world to be here, so all good.
So you're a senior, right? So after this, then what? Pro golf?
Yeah, that's coming down the road, but try not to worry about that too much as we got a lot coming down the stretch here at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's a big season, right? Coming up here. A lot of golf into the spring. Weather starts to warm up, and you're playing some great golf. We'll get to that here in a second. I really want to dig into this relationship and kind of how it started and then kind of where you are right now, Chris. And of course, your next step into pro golf, which you actually played in a professional tournament just a little while back in Puerto Rico, and you finished 7th, which is the first time that's happened, I think, as an amateur, right? In the last 7 years, I believe, someone finishing in the top 10. So kudos to that. We'll get to that. But Jason, I want to start with you here. And this relationship and when you guys first met, because Chris originally is from New Jersey. So take us back here to the beginning when you guys first met and Chris as a junior golfer.
Of course. I've been coaching Chris for maybe about 8 years or so. I think our first lesson was in 2014. Chris was probably right around freshman in high school, if I recall. His dad called me, set up a golf lesson. And, it's, as you never know who's going to walk in the lab on any given day. And I wasn't, I just had Chris Gotterup down on my schedule one day, didn't think much of it, young high school kid from Southern New Jersey. When we started, it was actually in the winter time. So I was indoors on a golf simulator, and you'll be happy to know that our first ever lesson was on an About Golf simulator. So plug for About Golf. There you go. So, it's always, from a teaching standpoint, it's always interesting from my perspective for a first lesson to be on a simulator. I mean, you're a little bit limited in, what you can do at that time. The technology for simulators was good, but it wasn't what it is right now. So it wasn't as accurate and not being able to see the actual ball. But yeah, I remember that first day like it was yesterday. Chris and his dad, Morton, came in, and Chris hit some balls, and I was like, wow, this kid's got some speed. He'd hit 2 straight, 3 left, 4 right, 3 straight. But you could tell there was some raw talent there, and some serious speed going on. And I just remember from that first day, I mean, he just had Chris is a shy kid. So I'm asking some questions in that first lesson about tendencies and strengths and weaknesses. And Chris's dad was doing most of the talking, and Chris's dad's a very good player, which is a great thing and certainly helped. So, you could just kind of see the look on Chris's face as his dad was going through some of the issues with his game. And Chris is, he almost had this look on his face like, I got it covered kind of thing. But yeah, no, it was great. It was a good start, and starting indoors is actually, I don't mind it. You can really get into some of the technique and dive into things and not have to worry too much about, results and where the ball's going. But yeah, it's been, we're going on 8 years now.
So you were 14, Chris, or thereabouts. What did golf mean to you at that point in your life?
Definitely not what it means now. It was kind of just another thing that I was doing. Obviously I was good at it, but I had other things I wasn't really thinking about. I was hoping to play in college, and I knew I was pretty good, but like Jason said, it was super inconsistent, and I kind of just I didn't really have a true like passion for it. I love playing and going out and having fun, but I never really thought I would be where I am now.
So it
Back
was like more like casual, something you could do with your dad, go out, have fun, the experience. You're a freshman. You're creating a lot of speed. Where'd that speed come from? Did you play other sports, or what happened there as far as like your ability just to grab a club and just start creating speed?
Yeah, I think so. I played lacrosse for a while,
Okay.
probably 8, 10 years. So I think that's where it came from. You get a lot of torque and speed from launching a lacrosse ball as hard as you can. So if I got anything from that, it was definitely the speed part of my game.
So you get started. You're shooting what freshman? What was your average score at that point in time in high school?
I couldn't even tell you. It was, I would throw up a couple 68s here and there, but then I would throw up a nice 77 here and there too. So um, for high school golf, it was pretty good, but
Yeah.
I kind of knew I was capable of more.
Was there a moment where like it switched? Do you think, like Jason, chime in here, where you felt like, okay, we're going down this path, right? And you're starting to coach him, and guy's got talent. How serious is he about it? Right? He's got some other things going on. Was there a moment where it hit you where, you know what? I think I'm going to play college golf. I'm really good at this. So I'm going to go ahead and start elevating my practice and my dedication to this. Was there a moment that happened?
For me,
So
I kind of know when that happened,
Yeah.
but I want to see what Jason says.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
for me, from my perspective, I would say there was not a moment. I think most of the work that we've done has been done in the right way, so to speak. So it's been gradual, right? Like, so every time I've seen him, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit better, it's a little bit better, and then you look at 6 months from now, and it's like amazingly better. But it wasn't for me personally from a technique standpoint. I wouldn't say there was one sort of aha moment. It just kept getting better, really,
Mhm.
for me. And I was like, I'm trying to rein it. My whole goal with Chris, I've actually never said this to him, but my whole goal with Chris is to get him better technically and to tighten up the dispersion without giving up 1 mile per hour of his speed. That has always been where I'm at, and that's always where I'll be,
Mhm.
because I know the importance of his length, and I think it'd be easy to give up some of that in an effort to create better technique. But that my goal with him has been to to sort of harness the speed and even increase it, because as fast as it is, it's gotten faster over the years. I mean, it may have been in the mid 120s and now it's in the low 130s, but I've not wanted to give up 1 mile per hour in chasing better technique with him.
Mhm.
And that aspect of it just like slowly got better and better over time. And then it's like a few years later, it's like, geez, well, I mean, that's just like amazing how much better it's got. But yeah, for me, it wasn't, certainly sort of in the middle of his Rutgers run, you know, scoring started to become a lot better. Kind of, I don't know if you'd say overnight, Chris, but there was certainly a switch that was flipped from a scoring standpoint there in the middle of his Rutgers run. But yeah, no, I would, for me, it wasn't one spot where it was like,
Yeah.
this is the difference. Yeah.
So real quick, Chris, I want you to answer it. So as a teacher, young man coming through, he's got a lot of speed. You're looking at it. Okay. All right. There's the dispersion. I can see it. You know what it is. And Chris is like, yeah, I could shoot 68. I could shoot 77, whatever. And he's thinking, yeah, there's a dispersion there. But you went down a path of, okay, I'm going to start tightening things up, but I'm not giving up speed, right? Like you're not going to give up the ability to create that speed. Like you said, 1 mile an hour, which I think, as coaches listen to this as well. I wish you go back to when we first started coaching, Jason. I know for me, I probably, I wish I just would have learned to hit it harder out of the gate, and then reined it in. And Chris, being 22, is really benefiting from, I think, a much better approach than probably where we were as an industry, say 20 years ago.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so I think that's a really cool story. Now for you, Chris, what was that moment?
So my answer is kind of the same as Jason, as in the technique part. It's every couple of weeks or months we talk and we tweak something here and there, and it was never something in the technique that really changed overnight. But I would say it's my sophomore year of school. I lost probably 50 pounds going into my spring year of sophomore year, and that's kind of when everything flipped for me. That's
Mm.
when I started scoring better, and then obviously the year after that, I had a really good year, was All American. But I think that's the thing that when someone asks me, that's my answer. But it
Mhm.
doesn't have to do with technique, really. It's more of a physical thing.
Yeah. Chris, let me ask you this. I get this. I think about this a lot. Go back to when you were in high school and you think about your experiences with your coach, with Jason, who you guys got a great relationship, and how it started, and this phone rings and you come in, you guys meet, and off you go. Funny story, real quick. I had Grant Field on the podcast, who works with Cameron Smith. And Cameron, of course, just won the Players. And I said, Grant, how did you meet Cameron? They're both from Australia. And he says, one time I did this junior clinic and he came out and he was with a group of 5 kids and off we went. So like I thought, and he was just so casual, like, really? He's like, yeah, we just had a junior clinic. He was, 10. And he goes, I've been teaching him ever since. And here we are. It's like, fair enough. You just never know, like when who's going to walk in and where that's going to take you. So, but you go back to as a junior, like what your experiences with Jason, like what did you like? What were you looking for as a young kid? Like you wanted to get better, but just the experience in general, you draw back, like what have you really appreciated through this journey with Jason?
It's easy to answer that now, but back in the day, I don't think I would have been able to answer it. So what I like about it is that, he can talk technical and stuff with me, but I'm not. I'm a feel guy. Like you could say this number looks good, this number looks good, but in the end, I don't really know what it means for the most part. Um, I'm just trying to focus on a feel that I like, and that's when I'm playing my best, is when I'm feeling certain things correctly. So I think we were able to do that really well. And he would say, you should feel this in your arm or whatever. Other than that, it's, it might get something done for him that he likes to see, but for me, I'm just feeling what he's saying. So that's kind of I'm not an analytical person or, a big numbers guy. So I kind of like that about it.
Has that been a learning curve? I asked this for you, Jason, now for like the teachers has that been a learning curve for you as you've gotten into this with him, where you might teach him, Chris, a little differently, say another one of your top players or a player that's maybe kind of on the way up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, every single case, I just try to take case by case. Everyone is very different at any level, right? So at the tour pro level, you've got technical tour players, you've got non-technical tour players, you've got field tour players. So I'm just trying to sort of navigate towards what's in there, what's best for them from a communication and a learning standpoint. It's been interesting with TrackMan. I mean, Chris has had access to TrackMan. I'm just thinking back to, I've been teaching tour pros for the last 20 years, really, since I started. And for the first half of that tenure, I didn't have, there was no TrackMan. There was, we just had video cameras, and TrackMan's really changed everything because, some people will tell you that it's too technical, but it's the complete opposite from my perspective. And I'm sure Chris would say the same, but TrackMan really has given us an opportunity to be, play more by feel because, we can dial in certain numbers and then, have a feel to produce those numbers. And yeah, I think, I think it's helped us. And it's been, one thing with him just that's made my life easier is that, he mainly has one ball flight, which is left to right. I mean, he used to not be able to hit a draw. I'm pretty confident he can hit a draw right now when he needs to. That's something, we'll continue to hone as he continues to play at a higher level. But because his shot shape has been predominantly left to right, both by design and it's just the way he is, it's made things easier for me because, when he's off, for example, just to give you a number, an example, his path might be, 7, 8, 9 out to in, and when he's on, his path is 3, 4, 5 out to in. So to know what that is and have a feel associated with those numbers has been super helpful.
Yeah, and that's kind of the bridge, right? As a player, like, yeah, okay, I get it. I'm just seeing the ball. The coach is, okay, when he struggles, here's where we are. And then when he's not, here's where we are, right? So it can be a different language. And then you don't even have to share that. You don't even have to share it. It just kind of lives in its own world. I think that's just the art of teaching, the beauty of it, and how everybody's, just so different. What's your top club head ball speed right now, Chris?
I've hit 200 once. That's it though. That's my max.
Wow.
It's
What's
funny,
the
Travis, with the speed stuff, one thing that's interesting with Chris is, it's he's used the lacrosse example as an area to help him gain speed, but it's like, I mean, it's pretty natural speed, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's a hard thing to teach. I think it is an acquired skill. Someone can get better at that and gain speed, but that has made my life easy. I mean, he's showing up with natural speed, and he's got a great head on his shoulders as well, which helps mentally. He's super strong. But speed, power, mental, I mean, those might be the most important things in golf, and also some of the hardest things to teach. And they're really the things that Chris is best at. But the speed stuff is not like, I mean, we've really never talked about it much, other than him hitting a shot and me looking at the numbers and saying, oh my God, look at that speed. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like we've ever, talked
Right.
speed or tried to gain speed or create speed. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
natural speed, and we're working with it.
Yeah, you're like a coach's dream, dude.
I wasn't early on. I can tell you that.
So, what's cruising speed, clubhead? Like, you're just out there like, this is me, man. I'm cruising at what?
Probably 25. If I had to guess, 25, maybe a hair more, give or take, depending
You're
on
juiced
how
up
I
a little bit,
prepare.
amped up, 27.
I
Yeah, I
guess
mean,
it's
I
20,
can.
27. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it's probably that's probably right.
I'm gonna timestamp that one. That's uh give my audience a little feel of what it's like in college golf. You're in a big program. Oklahoma State. You guys take this stuff seriously, right? College golf. I mean, you're playing for a blue chip program. What do you got? 2 wins already this year?
Me, I
Yeah.
have 2. Yeah,
You have 2 wins. Your team's on a heater right now.
yeah. We kind of lost a little steam this week, but we're all good.
Okay. Well, it happens. It's golf, right? You
Yeah,
can't win every week in golf. And if you are, then you're not pushing yourself enough.
yeah.
And you're playing top D1 golf, and then you're going to go to the next level after that. But give my audience a feel of like, what does the week look like for you? You've got your class, but fit in how much golf is happening on a weekly schedule, working out, meetings, hitting balls, tournaments. Just what does that look like?
So usually, at least here, we're working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, in the mornings, and that's usually just a normal workout with our guy in the gym, and then we have practice at 2 in the afternoon every day. But everyone's out there by 11:30, 12, getting some work in beforehand. And if it's a tournament week, we'll have qualifying, 3, 4 times a week,
Wow.
um, depending on the scenario, obviously. But yeah, and then then we'll travel. We'll leave if our tournament's on Saturday, we'll leave on Thursday, get out there, get a practice round in, knock some rust off from flying, and then get a practice round and then go play. It's definitely, we go to some pretty cool places. Like we played Pebble Beach, East Lake, Merida. You could name all of them, and they're all awesome. But it doesn't feel like a vacation when you're out of Pebble. We're trying to win, and it's fun, but it's definitely competitive, and I've definitely learned that getting to Oklahoma this year that it's legit and everyone takes it very seriously.
Ryan Hibble, right? Your
Yes, sir.
coach.
Yeah.
So I met him out at the PXG College Showcase that we do in Scottsdale in November. Logan McAllister, right?
Yeah, he's my roommate.
Logan's your roommate?
Yeah.
Is he there?
He's not now.
Oh, jeez. I know Logan. Tell him I said hi.
I will.
Yeah, he was out with us at the event. So that's cool. All right. Yeah, Ryan's a good guy. I enjoyed the conversations with that. And of course, he's your coach. And Jason, you're his coach. And this is something that, I talked to some of these college coaches about. How does that dynamic work, Jason? I mean, in communication, say with Ryan, hey, Chris and I are kind of doing this and this. And, obviously he's with them a lot and is out there with them. And if something's kind of breaking down, like how does that dynamic work between you, head coach of the team, and the student?
So I've never met or spoken to Ryan.
Okay.
And Chris, the way that I look at it, Chris is the boss from my perspective, right? He's the CEO of this company, and he kind of runs the ship. And he gets what he needs from whoever's on the team, really. I mean, I that's sort of the way that I've looked at the last, year or so with him. He really has good people around him, really
Hmm.
starting with his parents. I mean, he's just got it's so important at the level that he's at and the level that he's going to have, to have your things together outside the ropes and off the course. And Chris has got that going pretty good for him. He's just got a good group of people in his corner, starting with his parents and his coaches. He's just done a good job of putting the right people around
Hmm.
him, and that's just something that he's just naturally good at,
Hmm.
and it's very important. I mean, I've been on many teams that didn't work well together, and some teams that did work well together. So, yeah, but every case is different. He's in charge. He's the boss. He gets what he needs from the people on his team, and I give him what he needs from me, and he gets what he needs from other people. That's really the way that it's gone, and we've had success doing things this way. I said this when I saw him last time. It's like, we've been growing and we've gotten to this level doing things a certain way. So, from my perspective, there's no need to change anything other than, sort of what's been happening, and has been equaling into success. So, yeah, that's just,
Yeah.
we sort of keep moving.
Do you like that, Chris? Like you're you're in college, you're the boss of your game, right? You're the CEO of your game and the accountability of your game. I just feel like that's such a huge thing. I hear that from professionals a lot. Like you'll hear them 5-6 years in, all of a sudden say, yeah, I'm in a much better spot. I'm taking more accountability for my game. I'm more like, oh, what does that mean? Like, but there's an ownership there, right? As the player, do you feel that, Chris? And that kind of helps you give the confidence that you need to execute?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no one at the end of the day. There's no one else that the reliability falls on other than myself. So I use Jason as a tool to help me get better, and I use Coach as a tool to help me when I get better. So it's all kind of parts of the puzzle, but at the end of the day, it's all kind of comes down to me, and I got to execute.
What would you tell a young Chris or a young junior parent listening right now? Like what I know now as a senior in college, what I know now, what I've been through, Rutgers, then you transfer to Oklahoma, what you've learned through those experiences, what would you tell that young Chris or a young junior golfer is like, hey, I want to do that. I want to be right there in 8 years on the Stripe Show podcast talking to Travis. What would you tell him as advice?
The thing that I think that's helped me a lot is I haven't forced anything. Like anything that I've done has been kind of natural, and I never forced myself to play in a ton of tournaments. I played in what I wanted to. I never overdid it. I never played like I would purposely take a couple months off in the winter when the weather wasn't good. I never got burnt out, or I never. I would focus on playing other sports when they were in season and not golf. Certain things that I did just, I'm not. I wouldn't consider myself a big like. I'm not like a golf like junkie. Like I love golf. Don't get me wrong, but I have other things in my life that are important as well. So it doesn't take precedent all the time. So I think that's been important. And then I just haven't changed what I do. I stick to what I got, and if that's good enough, it'll work. If not, you deal with it. But other than that, if you're unique, I would stick with that. UCR team, we got Patrick Welch who plays left hand low, and then we got Garrett Angle who grips it like a baseball bat and with a space in between. So there's everyone's different. So I wouldn't fall into the gap of you have to look like this or look like that.
So right now on your team, you have someone that grips like a baseball bat.
Yeah, but like this, like there's this much room in between.
And then you have another player on your team that grips it left hand low.
Yeah. And
That's
he just
beautiful
shot 15 under in Vegas. So
We just won a college tournament, by the way.
yeah.
It's funny. When I played in college golf, there was a kid by the name of Craig Welty. You may have heard of the name Carl Welty.
Carl's son, yeah.
It's Carl's son. So I played against him in college, and he played cross-handed. And I played with him all the time in tournaments. And I could watch it, and the only time it freaked me out was in a bunker. I couldn't watch him hit bunker shots. It just didn't even compute. Like, how do you hit a bunker shot cross-handed? Like, that doesn't even make sense to me. And he was a magician out of the bunker. I mean, a damn magician. It was amazing. That's a really cool point, Chris. This baseball split grip, left hand low. gosh, I worked with a player today that's off and on in the Corn Ferry Tour, super weak grip, left hand over right hand way on top, and just so many interesting, ways to go about this. And it gets the fun for the coach is when they have a really high skill set, because then that challenges you, right, to work with that and work and then be able to fix things without making wholesale changes. So it's just a fascinating thing. Let me ask you this. What's the average length course you play in college, do you think? What length you at?
Probably, just over 7 is my
Okay.
guess.
You went to Puerto Rico, PGA Tour event. How was that course different than what you're playing in college?
Well, we did play there in college, so that made
So you
it
played
that
the
made
same
it a
course.
little easier. Yeah,
Okay.
so
So
the
was the course
tournament I
setup
won, we had to
different?
play the same. Yeah, it was different because we
Okay.
played some par threes that were up for the tournament, so we didn't want to use their boxes, so we played a couple up here and there, but greens were a little faster. Nothing crazy though.
What do you think as you look ahead, senior year, it's coming up? What do you feel like you look at your game right now? That experience in Puerto Rico, you're like, I can go out and compete right now. You can go out and get on the Corn Ferry Tour, compete. I don't know, maybe do a Monday here and the PGA Tour. What I know that the status is different now, right? You have to work through the Corn Ferry Tour and then work yourself up. And the PGA Tour University, you're at 14th right now, right? You've moved all the way up to 14th.
Yeah, I think so.
And the automatics are what? The top
So 5 get Corn Ferry right off the bat, and
top 5.
then top 15 through 6 get to second stage, and then you get PJ Tour like Canada or Latin or something
Okay.
like that.
So you feel like your game right now, you can go out and compete, or is there an area where you feel like I need to kind of polish this up a little bit more? Do you think that way?
I think kind of both. I think I think I can go play right now if I'm clicking, but obviously I think I can get better in certain spots as well. Like my short game, it'll always need work. Can never really be good enough in short
Yeah.
game. So, and then obviously just tightening up irons here and there, and I think I'm a pretty good driver of the ball. So I
Logan's
think
a good short game player.
yeah, we've had some nice short game battles over the year.
So
But
I
he's
watched him today. I watched him warm up, and we played a little bit before the footage. And I told the producer, I said, Logan will probably chip in twice, and he chipped in on the second hole. And I was like, "There's one," and then he didn't make another one. But he was hitting some. He's got some nice hands. Like he was really clipping it.
yeah, he can get under it pretty good and
Yeah.
get some nice spin on the ball.
All right, let's look at the swing. Ready for this, Jason?
That's it.
So I got some questions for you.
It's always a good thing when someone with 133 club speed and 200 ball speed doesn't list driver as one of the things he has to get better at. That's a good thing.
So let me ask you, Jason, before we look at the swing.
Yeah.
If you had to pick one thing, with Chris, like let's say his strength, you got driver, irons, short game, putter. Right now, number one is what? Driver?
The driver for me would be number one. I think, for him and I think it's where we've probably made the best strides over the years. Obviously with his speed and distance, accuracy is not the most easy thing in the world. And I think I really think he would have to answer this question too. But I think when we first started, driver was one of his weaker clubs. And I think now it's number one strength in the bag. And for him to, drive it and play with that speed is a huge advantage. And, every golf course is like a par 68 now.
Chris, when I posted your driver swing on the putting green on my platform, people were losing their mind. Like people were like DMing me, and I was like, relax. I said, he's not touching the green. He's a +4 handicap and working with his coach, and they're, it's all good. Like, calm down. But and then it was just hilarious how I didn't even think about like it would strike a nerve and this anyway. So here we are. So
that was a chipping green, by the way.
Or chipping green. There you go. Well, either way, I don't think it matters to a lot of people. But you look at this driver setup here, okay? And what would you say, Jason, like has been something that's been a nice impact from an overall accuracy standpoint as we kind of just play this through a little bit?
Yeah, so the hand position at address is a big one. When we first started, he had the club at a super upright angle at address, so the grip of the
Okay.
club was pointing well above his belt line. So when Chris is off, Chris is a fader of the ball, right? So when he's off, it's fading too much. Usually, he's missing shots too far to the right. So there's a little bit of down and out to in going on in his swing. So I've always tried to implement things that would, maybe even some draw characteristics to negate some of that out to in swing path. Right.
Hmm.
So as you can see in the setup, he's pretty square. He's set up to the left of his target, but he's pretty square, whereas he used to set up open. He has his
Okay.
hands a little bit lower to dress with his hands there. He used to have them much higher. So, starting with the handle high and the setup open, to me, those were big fade characteristics. So by getting him into a little bit more what I would call draw
Hmm.
drawish, square stance, handle lower. Um, he's got his arms a little bit closer to his body. His right arm folds a little bit better off of the ball. His arms are a little bit lower and more across his body in general, and you'll even see the club pointing a little bit across the line there at the top. So to me,
Yep.
those are all, you know, they're not. I'm not saying they would produce a draw, but they're in the
Yeah.
family of draw, as you know. So it's really just turned his swing path, which was sometimes excessively out in at 7, 8, 9. It's turned the swing path into 2, 3, 4, 5, and he doesn't lose golf balls with that swing path.
Have you always turned your right hip like that, Chris, where you just let the right knee kind of lose flexion? That window opens up in there between the knees. Is that something you've always done?
Yeah, yeah, my right leg gets pretty straight.
See, I show people that image, because most of the time, not always, but most of the time you're trying to get a little deeper hip turn with people. And the idea of losing flexion sometimes is like, wait, I want to keep my right knee flexed, right? And I know you can go ahead and let it, straighten a little bit. And I'll use that window. That window, you can see the daylight open up as a goal for them. And that's a big time right hip turn deep. And I'm sure that's key, Jason, to kind of help get that left arm rounded out a little bit.
Absolutely, he's always done that pretty naturally, and it's just been a huge source of power, and his ability to use the ground is tremendous, and that's a big part of it for sure.
What feel do you like, Chris? Like, what is there, like, as you've worked through some of these things, what's your go-to feel?
It honestly, it changes. Some weeks I try to hold the club face closed as long as possible, or there's other weeks where I'm trying to feel the club kind of go out a little bit when I take it back. I really just they all kind of equal the same thing. It just feels different here and there, but I don't have one kind of feel. I like to keep my left arm when I'm practicing as close to my body as possible for as long as possible, but that's kind of for practice. I try not to think about really anything when I'm swinging, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd say Travis, the most probably the swing feels that we've come to more often is maybe standing up a little bit taller with the posture and the connection with the left arm, like Chris alluded to, and maybe a simple thought like lines of the takeaway, a little bit straighter back as opposed to letting it get behind him, and
Hmm.
completing his shoulder turn. All things that are pretty simple to take to the golf course as point thoughts.
Yeah. And then like the downswing is just kind of instinctive, I would imagine, right? Like whoops, there we go. The downswing, Chris, is just like hit it.
Yeah, I just try to swing left. That's really the only thing I think about.
Okay. So you like the feeling of kind of the hands working back around to the left.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
that's
could stop it here a sec. Let me see if I can. Yeah, like see that club exiting, kind of down under that left shoulder a little bit.
Yeah, and that's been a feel, Chris, for a while now, right? And I think that's where my job has been important to sort of make adjustments in other areas so that he can continue to have that feel and
Hmm.
not have numbers that get him into trouble, right? Because if he sets up way open at address and he's got the handle high and he's got his arms lifty and then he adds the swing left thought, things get a little out of control. So I've always had in the back of my mind that he likes playing with that feel.
Hmm.
Um, so I've sort of put some things in place to allow him to play with that effectively.
That's such a good point. I mean, And I'll tell you what's really weird. It's very similar to kind of what Sam Burns did from Monday at the Players over to Valspar. You know, if you remember, he fades it too, and he struggles. He was just, you know, kind of hitting the wipe, and he, you know, you can really see that effort of him turning and exiting left, and you know, he got very much up and down, right? He kind of got up and down, and I was talking to his coach Brad Pullen about it on Monday, and it was just all about, you know, just get it working around you, you know, get it a kind of a draw bias component, get it working a little bit more around you, and then you can go get it and, you know, do your thing. Like Chris is saying, just kind of swing left. So that backswing kind of sets the stage for you to be instinctive to, and I think that's the cool balance between coach and player, where you're just, Jason, you're layering in that the context. Okay, we need a little bit of this and this, so he can now just be instinctive and do what he wants to do.
Absolutely. This conversation we're having right now is about as in-depth technique as I've ever gotten with Chris in the last 8 years.
Chris, if you go out and shoot 77, you can blame it on me. Okay.
That's fine.
Just erase this, you know, like from your brain. This is good. Like what I love about this is I'm listening to the player and the coach, right? That's what's really cool about this is like what the coach is saying, what the player is saying. And then you can really hear the value of the coach and how he's coaching you up for you to be instinctive. And I think that's kind of what we've just gotten to here in a very fun way with your feel, Chris, of like swinging left. And then Jason's like, well, you know, I gotta make sure that I create the right context for him to do that. And so much of that is just, you know, in that backswing and getting it. When I look at this view, have you always is like that turn right there, which is just awesome. Is that how he turned when he was in high school?
I was way
yeah.
longer then, right?
Yeah, it was longer then, but his body is like insanely different, right? I mean, like you said, he lost 50 pounds, so, and he's so much stronger now, and the stability and it was a different. He was getting to a similar position, but it wasn't in the way that he's doing it now. It was kind of a lot of moving going on and a lot of sort of wasted stuff going on in there, and the balance wasn't like it is right now. He's just so much fitter and stronger and leaner now. It's really, that's changed everything.
So you lost 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And then when did you start working out in weights? Like what year?
I always kind of did, but that year, like probably sophomore year of college, was when I started really throwing it around.
When you got stronger, where did you feel you got stronger everywhere? But was there a particular area like legs, core, where you felt like, damn, this is helping me a ton?
Probably, honestly, everywhere: legs, arms, core. You know, probably core, just because I was able to, you know, feel like. It's funny because I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna, like, when I worked out, I got not tighter, but like my swing got tighter, more compact, just by like not doing anything, but just by working out. So,
so now you're working out, you're getting stronger, but you still have the length of your swing.
Yeah.
Through all these technical changes and body transformations, he's only gotten faster.
Yeah. And he's probably only going to continue to get faster.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
I mean, I could potentially. Like, what's this right here? What speed? Why is that doing that? Here we go. What percent effort is that right there? Is that like 100%, 90%, 80%?
That's probably 85, 90. But that's good 4 years ago. I think I'm probably a good 4 or 5 miles an hour faster now.
This one's when?
It's like 2 years ago.
No, this one is actually last year.
Yeah.
Last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one, would you say your cruising speed's 80, 90%?
Yeah, that's probably a good 90.
When you want to bust one, when you're like, I'm going to knock the absolute dog shit out of this one, what do you do? Like, where do you get it?
I usually grip it a little harder. It does not go as straight. I know that. But I usually just grip it a little harder and get a fuller turn, and usually doesn't go well though.
Usually doesn't. So there's a limit.
Yeah, I mean, like we had a long drive contest on the range, and I'll mess around. I'll try to hit like a high draw, and
Yeah.
it'll either go perfect or it'll go 40 yards right. So I would never use that on the course. I'll cruise all day what I got, but it's fun to mess around every once in a while.
How many guys in your team fade it?
Um, probably we have 12. I would say at least half, maybe a little more.
So you got 6 fades, 6 work, maybe draws.
Yeah, some people work it both ways, but I would say there's probably like 3 or 4 solid draw guys, and then a couple straight here and there.
Is there any swing you like? You watch golf on TV, you're like, "God, I like that right there."
Um,
Or like a player, there
I
anyone that
like.
you're
I mean,
just
I like watching Ron play. He's probably. I just. It looks so simple, and he looks like he goes full bore at everything, and it's in the same spot.
yeah.
Travis, I took Chris. We were at the Travelers Championship. I don't know, maybe 3 years ago. I had a student playing at Travelers, Roberto Diaz, and I invited Chris up to spend the practice round with us, and we played with Abraham Answer and
Mhm.
Joaquin Neiman on a Tuesday in Cromwell, and got Chris inside the ropes, and we're walking around, and it's always interesting for me to see how he responds to that. I mean, I've been in that situation with students before, and they're starstruck and a little intimidated. And I mean, at the time, I think Neiman was 20 years old and maybe even won already, and obviously great player. And we spent that day, and I'll never forget Chris coming up to me, very nonchalantly, not bragging in any way, shape, or form, but sort of towards the end of the practice round, just said, I can beat these guys. I know I can beat these guys, and that was like, pretty eye opening for me. I mean, he's there's no real outward
Mhm.
cockiness going on, but he's got an inner confidence in him, and similar to the swing speed stuff, it's hard to teach and coach that, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And is that the way you feel, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of. There's been certain building steps that have gotten me to that point. Like, you have to prove it without saying it. Like, there's certain things where you kind of know you can do things, but you have to still go prove it. So,
Yeah.
I've gotten to that point now, but I know there's still plenty of options down the road to keep improving.
So the driver's 1, what's 2? What's number 2? Irons, wedges, or irons, short game putting?
I would probably say irons. I think I hit my long irons really well. I don't really my par three scoring is usually pretty good, which is kind of an important thing for me. That's kind of what I focus on because I
Mhm.
know I'm playing well if I'm scoring well in par threes. Um, Honestly, I think it's definitely irons, and then I've gotten really good with wedges over the past couple of years. Can still get better there, but
Mhm.
compared to what it used to be, it's probably a close second or third.
Iron, 7 iron, how far do you hit a 7 iron?
Probably like 190, 95.
Putting, you watch Neiman putt, you watch Answer putt. Um, you're like, I'm as good a putter as I mean, I can do that too, right? Like that's because that's like one of the part of the game is when you start benchmarking, it's easy. You sit there and you watch them hit the ball, and you're like, okay. And then it's okay. Now you're watching them on the green. Do you feel like I can do exactly that too with the putter?
Yeah, I probably don't do it as consistently as I would like, but when I'm in a good spot, I think I can roll it pretty good.
Yeah. What do you like about his putting, Jason?
He doesn't get too, he's very non-technical. Obviously, like you said about the swing, but probably even more so with the putter, which I
Mhm.
think is very important. That's probably, what I like about it the most. And he also doesn't stress too much about the putter. I mean, when you have amazing ball striking rounds, it just sometimes makes you think like you're not putting that well because how many putts are you really going to make? I mean, the percentages even on tour from 8, 9, 10 feet are not very high, right? So you have these amazing ball striking rounds and sometimes walk off the golf course thinking you're not making anything, which is not really the case. But he doesn't stress about, he has rounds like that where he'll text me after the round and said, shot 2 under but didn't make a thing, or we just kind of move on to the next. He doesn't, I've had students over the years, especially at that level, that have, are good ball strikers, and they stress about the putting when it's not there. And he's never really done that. Credit to his mental, makeup and game. But I think that's probably what I like about the most. There's just no stress. It's like, they'll fall tomorrow, and it's kind of, that's, I think, a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how the game's changed on tour right now. You look at it, I look at it a lot with podcasts. Statistically, the strokes gain approach is the number one stat. And then, you look at those names and you see Colin Morikawa and Victor Hovland, and you're like, damn, that's the who's who. And then you look at like driving distance, and then you start seeing, Bryson and DJ and Brooks. And you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Those guys, like, so it's like the ball, it's a ball striking tour with have your weeks of putting, kind of that's, in a nutshell. Short game has a ton of value, but I would say in today's game, Jason, I'm sure you guys have talked, it's, if you have distance, man, huge advantage. And then if you can hit your irons and you're a great iron player, man, you can, that travels. I mean, you can
Sure.
take down any course and have your good putting weeks, and now you're on the first page, and let's get a win, right?
Yeah, and it's been that way for years now, right? I mean, the best players are, the best putters of the best ball strikers are the guys that are, right? I mean, who's best player on tours, whoever's, strokes gained and approach shots is highest in any given week. So I think it's, even going back to Mark Brody's Every Shot Counts book from several years ago, right? I mean, putting, I think, was third on his list of importance. Now, I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form putting's not important. Obviously, you can't be a bad putter at the level Chris is playing at.
Yeah.
But for sure, I think it's where it should be on the list.
Yeah. Well, Chris, it's good stuff, man. It's fun to watch. It's your the next generation is coming. You're 22, senior year. Enjoy it, man, because you know what? You're never gonna, you're not gonna go back to college, right? So, I know you got a lot of like big tournaments, and there'll be some stress, but enjoy the experience too, because college life is, your friends and the people, the things that your experiences there are one of a kind. So we'll be watching this spring, and then you turn pro. We'll be cheering you on.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
All right, Chris Gotterup, Jason Birnbaum, Stripe Show podcast, man. That was a good one. Really appreciate you listening.
Travis. Thank you.
Thank you.